Hi, welcome to Racehouse with me, Joe Lee.
And me, Darren Reeves.
Well, the Mexico Grand Prix, lot happened, a lot of drama, a lot of great racing, beautiful sunshine. But let's go back to quali. And very quickly, it was great to see Daniel Ricciardo fourth in qualification, Darren.
Wow. Do you know what? I'm a big Daniel fan. I think his personality just brings brightness to Formula One, and gutted to see him leave last year. Oh, look at that. Look at that. He's got a helmet. I
There's
love
no
it.
McLaren one, but it's right.
I
It's
don't care.
magic.
I love that, mate. No, those miniature helmets, 50% size, aren't they? I think they're really cool. I think I told you I bought my dad a Hamilton one that Zandvoort a few years ago. But Ricardo, he needed that this weekend. Fourth, qualifying fourth. Where has that come from? Where did it come from? It's just come out of absolutely nowhere.
Quick car.
I have got to be honest. I thought it was going to be Albon who was going to surprise us in quali, because in free practice, he came second, literally a couple of hundredths behind Verstappen in FP3. And I've got to say, I've enjoyed a normal weekend, Joe, of FP1, FP2, and FP3, where everybody just works and gets better. Everybody knocks another second off their lap time. It's boring, I know, but there's something about seeing them perfect what their cars can do on that track.
Do
It
you know
takes
what?
time.
I'm kind of with you, actually. I do prefer because I love the idea of having two races and stuff, but I think it needs to be a middle ground somehow. But yeah, I kind of prefer. Yeah, I've changed to
I, I,
turncoat.
I like the fact that we have quali that sets the race, and then we do the race. I'm struggling with quali on a Friday. Makes Friday more interesting. I get that, but then we just have this gap of 36 hours that we've all forgotten. Who's fourth? Ricardo would. Oh yeah, Ricardo's on fourth. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
a bit weird. But also,
yeah,
I mean, look at the Alfa Romeos. I mean, they were there in the top 10 of
top
quali.
10, 9th and 10th.
Wow.
I think what we're seeing, and happens over the development program of each season, is everybody just gets closer and closer. And I've seen more development towards the end. In an October, when the season is finished, so we're not racing for a championship at all, but everybody's still developing to get closer to Red Bull. Whereas Red Bull are probably sat there going, well, we'll do a few upgrades, but we're there, you lot try and catch us. The gap is getting smaller for sure. And so Alfa Romeo, I think they did a great job in quali more than the race. But for
Yeah.
me, Ricardo was the star of qualifying. But who wasn't the star of qualifying, Joe? Norris.
Well, Norris. Yeah.
He's had such a great season, but what a disaster. I don't put the blame all on him. He went out on a set of mediums and aborted the lap, came in, went out on a set of softs and completely lost it through the S's. He was lucky not to spin off into the barriers. He saved it. It was great driving to save. But there's such little downforce because of the thinness of the air quality in Mexico City, being how many meters above sea level? 2,500.
I'm not sure, but
like
it's
that.
the highest
Yeah.
track on the calendar, isn't it?
It certainly is, and I think it's something like, if you put Snowdon on top of Ben Nevis, it's still not as high as Mexico City.
Wow.
It's something very odd, an odd stat. So the thinness of the air, they've got so much downforce on the car set, but like in Monaco or Singapore. But the reality is, the actual downforce created by the thinness of the air means there's less than Monza, which is the fastest track with the least amount of normal downforce. So, the cars are slippy. Tires are really unpredictable. But Norris blew it. And then when he did go out for his final lap, Alonso had spun, which yellow flags. And so he was unlucky there, but it led to something more interesting later for me.
It did. So let's talk about the race. And, well, turn one. We've had some pretty epic turn ones this season. And this one was unbelievable. At his home race, hundreds of thousands of Mexicans cheering him on. Sergio Perez came straight off the track.
I've got to be honest with you. I was cheering him on this weekend. Perez, home
Yeah,
race,
sure.
Mexico. He's got the car to do it. If there's one guy that needs a little bit of luck in Formula One right now, it is Sergio. He's a nice guy. I don't want to see him lose his drive. I don't want to see him retire.
Mm.
Maybe I want to see him in a different car, but he needs a bit of luck. And all those fans, 400,000 fans went to Mexico City Autodrome James Rodriguez. I can't say it. Rodriguez. Then 400,000, mate. That's not that many. Less than Silverstone and Cota the week before.
Austin,
Big,
yeah.
Big
Huge.
numbers. All there to see one person. And he was desperate. He wanted. When he saw the opportunity, he went for that first place.
It was
in the
just
first
strange because going 3 cars, these are wide cars, they know that.
Yep.
And, he could see ahead of him. He could see Max. He could see Charles Leclerc. And he was like, okay, I'm going to have a bit of this. Fine. But I think he thought, and I think he said this in the press interview afterwards, that he thought Charles was going to break before. And the thing is, he did have some track left. He could have stayed on that outside line, and the 3 of them could have gone round. But instead, as a lot of drivers do, and this is why a lot of crashes happen, they just cut in too much. They don't follow. If they had followed 3 car around the track, it might have been a bit interesting, and maybe Charles would have thought, okay, I'm going to put off for here. But it was a big fail. I mean, he caught some real air as well, which was spectacular to see.
Well, when the car came crashing down on the ground and ripped that side pod to shreds with the impact, see the slow motion
floor
footage.
must have taken a beating.
Massively. And we all know about Perez's floor because it's changed the season, really, for development from Monaco up in the air. But it reminded me, like it was a carbon copy of Hamilton and Russell at Qatar 3 weeks ago. He took the outside line, comes into the first corner and cuts people off. It's 3 abreast. In fact, what he didn't know, it was actually, I think it was almost 4 abreast, wasn't it? It was Sainz as well, because Verstappen was brilliant how he split the 2 Ferraris, didn't allow them to close him off. Because really, I was expecting the Ferraris to come together and send Verstappen round the outside, obviously where Perez ended up going. That's where I expected. But they just didn't. Sainz didn't have a very good start. But when you watch the replays, the second phase of that start, wow, Perez just took off like a rocket from 5th place. He was in the lead. He was actually in the lead for probably 2 or 3 meters before the impact took place. And he could have gone across the grass. He could have followed the edge of the circuit round, but he was desperate.
He was desperate,
It was all or nothing for him. But isn't that what we want to see with drivers? All or nothing.
It's pressure.
Massive.
And certainly with that home race, you've got all those fans who's been doing all the interviews in Spanish. You got his family, friends, everybody there. I mean, you know what it's like when you do a gig and you've got family and friends in the audience and you've got agents maybe there and you've got this and that and you're kind of a bit, after a while, I don't know, I kind of forget about all that stuff and just go and do it. But yeah, it does add another level because you're kind of thinking about that and it can put you off your game.
To add to that, Joe, I know what it's like when, I can remember playing Hammersmith Apollo for Queen with Roger there and Spike there, and it was being recorded for an album as well, live album. All my family were there. It's massive, massive pressure. So it doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, how experienced you are. Those moments are really special and defining moments in your life. And Mexico, this Perez is probably sat there going, this could be my last Mexican Grand Prix if my ducks don't align. Because
that's why he pushed.
I think so. If he is in the car next year, which I think all of us now are pretty certain he will be, it doesn't mean to say he'll be in the car for the whole season if things keep going like they are. It might be 6 races and we'll see a De Vries situation. We know Red Bull are pretty, harsh.
Well, they are harsh, but also, it's about losing points at the end of the day. I mean, look at Hamilton. He had a great race. P2, it's the old Lewis. The old Lewis is back, and the car is not quite there. He says that, and and I reckon a couple more laps at Austin, he could have won that race. But after that disappointment of the disqualification, he knows this season now is just kind of practice and getting his stride back. This
Yeah.
is the warm up for next season. We know this. But look, great second place, and now points. He is in very close third. Perez, I think, is on 240 points, and Lewis on 220. So if this keeps going, we've got 3 races left. Lewis could definitely get second place. This is on the cards now. Perez has really thrown away the season. What could have been a comfortable 1-2 for Red Bull.
He's mentally really struggling. I'd still put it down to the fact that he came into this season believing he could win the World Championship. And this was his season to take on Verstappen. And the reality, we've mentioned it before, the bubble has burst in the Perez camp for certain. You know, what do you do? What do you do when that happens? How do you react? Well, it's make or break. Everything's make or break. And right now, it couldn't be going worse for Perez. I feel really sorry for him yesterday because I was rooting for him. Come on, Perez, get that win, get out, But, we want to see drivers take risks.
We do. And drivers taking risks in this race as well. We saw Lando Norris, who, a disappointing qualification, but an amazing race. I mean, it was a race of 2 halves, really.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yes, as they say in football. But after the red flag, everyone kind of had to reset. A lot of people lost momentum, I feel, and tire temperatures and all this kind of stuff, and the tire wear and blah blah blah. So it was like, oh, okay, all that work for nothing. And Norris had done all that work, but he came back. I mean, I think it was 15th to 5th. Is that right?
He started 17th. On 17th. Soft, so he was the only person to start on soft. So obviously he was hoping that he was going to get a really good start, maybe get into the top 10, and then take a pit stop and go hard. Anyway, the softs were rubbish, and he didn't get a good start at all. So he came in really early on. I'm not quite sure which lap it was, but it was way before lap 10, and he got on those hards and undercut so many people that he made it up to 8th. Before the red flag. The safety car comes out because of Magnussen's crash, which when we saw it, it was pretty horrific. Something broke on the car, didn't it?
Yeah, it was horrific.
Which were, but Norris pitted under the safety car, as did Verstappen. And I thought they have pulled a blinder here. No one else was pitting. I don't know if everybody else thought this was going to be a red flag and predicted it. But then, so when Norris came out, Verstappen came out in first on new tyres, but when Norris came out, that's when the red flag came in, and I was like, oh, no, this is all good. So he comes out in 10th, starting on, what was he, on hards, I think. He was on hards, and so they all come in the pits. They all sit there for 20 minutes, whatever it was, to repair the Tech Pro barriers, which I think are an amazing bit of engineering as well, to replace the tyre walls or the brick walls, as it were. They've really improved that side of safety. But Norris had a terrible start. And when they all came out, some were on mediums, some were on hards, and everybody was saying the mediums aren't going to last to the end. As we know now, they were probably the better tyre to be on. But 36 laps on a medium tyre. Nobody predicted that, even though we had FP 1, 2, and 3 and quali to be able to work it out. But Norris,
luck there, maybe.
But, I think you're absolutely right. I don't think they knew, and it again, the air just makes everything completely different. So I love this circuit for these differences. There's no other circuit like it. But Norris dropped back to 14th, mate, on the start. That was.
It's still over again. I mean,
yes,
it was a mess. But then he fought again. I mean, I don't know if he got driver of the day. Did he?
Yes, he did. 29%.
Yeah,
did,
yeah, I should have.
Yeah,
I didn't see if he got it or not, but he should have, because that was well deserved. And then that car was really rinsed that day. Piastri didn't do as well, but Norris again showing why he's the number 1 driver at McLaren.
He's had to. Piastri has really pushed him, and winning that sprint race a few weeks ago just went, right, Norris, come on, you've got somebody pushing you here. And since then, he's just, like, him and Hamilton are just driving the socks off their cars right now. And as Brits, it's fantastic to watch.
They are, and Mercedes is doing really well. George Russell was a bit invisible, I thought, in this race. He was getting overtaken as well.
I think he
quite a few guys.
got stuck behind Sainz for quite a while, really. And the
Mm,
DRS I'd say it's the weakest for one of the longest straights in Formula One. It's one of the weakest DRSs because again, less airflow creates less DRS, and of course that's
mm,
good news for us and Red Bull because they get this extra DRS that they seem to have developed ahead
mm,
of everyone else. But DRS didn't work, so it really showed you the drivers that could use the energy recovery system better. And for
mm.
Lando to go from 17th to 8th to 14th to 5th, well, he passed the whole
Yeah.
field and some.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting in the next three races what happens with
Oh,
McLaren
yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait for next season already because I
Yeah.
really want them to do so well. Um, yeah, I mean, he was fantastic. I mean, we had lots of other things in the field. You mentioned Kevin Magnussen. That was a crazy crash, and the car
Yeah.
was. I think it was a rear suspension that broke.
It was.
And that sent him off. I mean, it wasn't his fault. You know, I don't think he could have
Well, I
anticipated that.
I'm not sure because on the very last corner, which is now what Nigel Mansell corner, he went off to the left on by the start finish straight and
Oh, yeah.
bumpy over the grass.
Oh,
So
yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
yeah, and it was the next lap that he crashed. So I think he damaged something on the car when he went off.
Maybe there was a crazy dip or something that's not.
And then
yeah.
it broke, and then some rear
Oh,
suspension
so it was his
broke.
fault. Kevin
There you
Magnussen
go.
was your fault. How dare you? How dare? I was sticking up for him, but no, Darren put
Oh,
the knife in.
I love K-Mag. I love him. You know, when he came back to replace Mazepin, it's similar story to Ricardo coming back and replacing.
Yeah, yeah. We met
DeVries,
him
you
in
know.
Portugal. Do you remember?
That's right.
We were
That's right.
in the paddock and stuff. We said hi to K-Mag. He was on the phone and gave us a nice little wave and a little shout out. That was cool.
I might have a little photo of it. I'm not sure.
There is a photo somewhere. Yeah,
yeah,
we've got
we'll
photos
find-
of all these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Us and the
Oh, yeah.
drivers. We're always with the drivers. Yeah. Look, not another great race for Stroll. He had
or Aston Martin in
Aston Martin in
really.
general. What? Come on, what has happened there?
Well, do you know these upgrades that they bought to the last race? You know, and they said, "Oh, well, they didn't really show and whatever." I think we've got a very despondent Fernando Alonso in an Aston Martin now. You know, he's cascading down the driver standings, and
Well, it's fifth. It's fifth.
yeah, but
with 183.
Science went above him, didn't he?
Signs they're
this
both
weekend.
tied on 183.
Yeah, that's it.
Is what I'm looking at now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Stroll's down on 53.
But I think Leclerc and Norris are going to pass Alonso in the next three races. I think he's going to fall
Yes.
down. You know,
Orlando
I think,
is now up to sixth, and so
Well-
he's only got about 15 points or something.
and
14
George is only 32 points behind him. So you know George might win in Brazil like last year. You know the Mercedes has always historically been really good in Brazil, which we'll look ahead to at some point. So I think all is to play for, and I think Fernando is a sitting duck in that upgraded Aston Martin. Just bring the old one back. Bring the old one back from the start of the season. Just ditch everything and race it for 3 races and see what happens.
The Red Bull version 2.
Yeah.
But it is really gone wrong. And it was Stroll that got clipped in the Foro Sol section in the stadium by Bottas, I think it was.
That's right.
Who
Yep.
caught him. Yeah.
Span
so he
him
spun out
around, didn't he?
and- Did he retire after that, or did he just come in last?
I think he retired. From what
Yeah,
I can
well-
remember. I can look it up.
Yeah, so just not great for Aston Martin. I mean, with the stellar start, it's funny. Some teams started really strong, and now they're not doing very well. Some started terribly and are now doing really well, like McLaren. So it's been this real crazy graph, really. But no, look, I keep feeling for Leclerc because Charles Leclerc really should be up there. He should have. He got pole position in the qualifying.
And
He
second
should
pole
have.
in a row.
Second pole in the row. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's great, but it's not translating. I mean,
Not at
he
all.
got the podium, which is great, but Sainz, just from his consistency, is above him in the standings. And also, you know, Charles Leclerc got booed heavily when he had his
Yeah.
post-race interview because I think the fans probably thought that he caused it.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, that's exactly how they'll see it. He took out Perez. Whenever as fans we're supporting our guys, um, it's never their fault ever. So, and there was a bit of an exodus as well during the race. Once Perez was out, there was a lot of people that just got out their seats and left. Are they Perez fans? Are they Formula One fans? For me, if Hamilton or Norris got knocked out of Silverstone, am I going to leave? No, I'm not. But they're passionate
Get your
people.
money's worth. They
Yeah.
are passionate. Yeah.
Very passionate. So those that did stayed so they could blame Leclerc and blame everybody else. Come on, guys.
It wasn't
this is
Leclerc's
Formula One.
fault. It wasn't Leclerc's fault.
He had
You can
nowhere
see
to
it
go.
from the video. It was sandwiched, and
Yeah.
he was dead straight. He was following his line. Perez moved in, and I'm sorry, you saw that on the video. I think Perez even admitted it himself. It wasn't Leclerc's fault, and he said, "I'm sorry. It happens in racing, but I didn't put into him or anything like that," which is I think is right. So yeah, a bit of a weird one, weird weekend for Perez. Not Perez, well, for Perez certainly, but for Leclerc also. But I'm glad he got a podium spot.
Oh, do you know what? I think Leclerc is one of the best racing drivers in Formula One. We've got Verstappen, we've got Hamilton, we've got Leclerc, and we've got Norris. Four of the best drivers in four now of the best teams. And Alonso, let's say, in Aston Martin. So top 5 drivers, top 5 teams. We're in a really special place for next season. But somehow they've just got to find another half a second on Verstappen. And, we won't know till then. But I think we're in a really strong place. And all of them are driving those cars they've got to the best of their ability. So, and Sainz... some of the second drivers there with Sainz and Piastri right now are definitely running a close second. So Ferrari and McLaren have got the strongest driver lineup for me. And had you asked me at the beginning of the season, of course I'd have said Mercedes with Russell. But, he's a little bit behind at the moment. Something's not quite clicking for him as well as it is, maybe for some of those other teammates.
Yeah.
But again, it turns around so quickly, doesn't it? We were all cheering for Liam Lawson to be in a seat 2 races ago. Now we're just like, come on, Daniel's in it. We all love Daniel again. We are so fickle as F1, but that shows you how fast it moves.
It is fast and ruthless, and there's some strong bonds. And talking of strong bonds, we've got some really strong fans. So we've got a lot of people who've been messaging us and supporting the podcast, with people saying, "Oh, it keeps coming up on the TV screen everywhere," because they all have smart TVs. Do you have any shout outs, Darren?
Yeah, I do. So I was with a few of my mates the other day. We have a golf society, and it's for loads of ex-Portsmouth Football Club footballers back from the... Now, I'm not a footballer. I supported them. I had a season ticket back in the day. But, so I was a bit of a fan. It's like you and me, Joe, playing golf with a load of ex-Formula One drivers. It's a little bit like that,
It takes me back.
So we need to get Zach and Lando on the golf course, mate.
Yeah,
that's
they
our
love
challenge
it.
for
They love
Racehouse.
it.
That's the answer.
Right.
So anyway, we had a meeting yesterday about our society. It was all very official, and we talked about the podcast because those guys have heard it as well. So I want to do a little shout out to Andy Orford and Neil Sillett and the boys. So they're a good bunch of lads, and good. It's good when you beat a professional sportsman at sport. Just it's not their sport. It doesn't matter. But I love doing that, mate. Oh,
well, hi to Andy and Neil. Thanks for watching Racehouse and supporting us and sharing. We will be back for the Brazilian Grand Prix preview. 3 races left. Not much left now. So
no.
Brazilian is going to be at a decent time as well. 1 p.m. I think UK, 5 p.m. Dubai. And a bit earlier in the morning for US, but I think it'd be a good timing actually for most countries. So yeah, check out the Brazilian Grand Prix. We will see you then on that. Please like and subscribe. Check out the merch store at racehouse.cc. But for now, it's goodbye from me, Joe Lee.
And it's goodbye from me, Darren Reeves.
See you next time.
Take care.